Una buona parte degli insegnamenti il Maestro Gesù li ha tenuti a Gerusalemme.
Many of Jesus the Master's teachings were given in Jerusalem, or more specifically in the temple, in the beating heart of the Jewish religion, where all of the various factions were to be found, the Sadducees, who had priestly responsibilities, the Pharisees, etc. His teachings always provoked reactions, because they touched on the core of what it means to be a believer, and the authenticity of being a disciple, in this case of Jesus. In the passage that we are about to read, we will hear about the Pharisees, who, having heard Jesus' teaching, what did they do? We are told that literally they wanted to trap him, to frame him, and so they sent some of their disciples, together with some Herodians, on purpose to trap Jesus. We can read together directly from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 16 to 21. They sent their disciples to him with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are a truthful man, and that you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth, and you are not concerned with anyone's opinion, for you do not regard a person's status. Tell us then, what is your opinion? Is it lawful to pay the census tax to Caesar or not?" Knowing their malice, Jesus said, "Why are you testing me, you hypocrites? Show me the coin that pays the census tax." Then they handed him the Roman coin. He said to them, "Whose image is this and whose inscription?" They replied, "Caesar's." At that he said to them, "Then repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God." The Pharisees were the Perushim, the separated ones. They had a cult and worship that was very exterior. They had to fulfill 613 precepts, or laws. Not only were they difficult, but in order to do them, they needed help from the others, the Chaverut, the community that they belonged to. So what did they do? Well, they wanted to frame him. So they called some Herodians, who had completely opposite ideas in politics. Because the Pharisees tended to be against the Roman occupation, whereas the Herodians had the support of the Roman Empire and the occupation, because they were favorable to them and they got on pretty well together. And so they asked him this question. But if the master replied yes to this question, "Yes, you must pay the tax," then the people would have said, "What are you saying? We thought that you were the Messiah, the liberator. But in the end, you make us recognize our subjection to the conqueror, the occupier." So the people would have become an enemy. If Jesus had replied no, then the authorities would have probably proceeded to charge him. But Jesus neither said yes nor no. Repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. He puts a limit to what must be given to Caesar. This limit is to give to God what belongs to God. From what Jesus says here, the one who truly knows how to give to God what belongs to God knows and is able to discern to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. But what comes first is to give to God what belongs to God. Jesus reprimands these Pharisees because he knew their wickedness, and he said to them and called them hypocrites. What does the word hypocrite mean? We understand and know the word in a certain way. But if we return to its etymology in Greek, this term was used in Greek theatre. The hypocrites were in fact the actors, those who pretended, those who played the part of someone else. In our context, in a religious context, in following Jesus, there is a pretense of being holy, a pretense of being righteous, of putting on a mask, and of wanting to show that we are something very different from what we really are. So what can we learn today? That the closer we come to Jesus, the more our mask will fall down. That the closer we come to Jesus, the more this mask must be taken away. We must be willing to allow ourselves to be authentically recognized for who we really are. Jesus condemns hypocrisy. Jesus condemns the idea of putting someone to the test. So let's recognize what reality tells us, our internal reality also, that God has the first place. He is supreme. Give to God what belongs to God. This will give us discernment also to recognize and give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. It will make us authentic Christians. It will help us to commit ourselves better to political laws, to enter into and not only be subjected to them, rather to act according to this principle, this precept that Jesus gives us. Give to God what belongs to God. This is the principle for discerning. We are not holy, but we are being made holy by Him, who is the only source of holiness. This is the teaching that we can draw today, to allow ourselves to be unmasked by Jesus without fear. It's a journey in authenticity and truth. Only in this way can we understand and be able to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, what is due to him. This is my prayer. Until the next time from the Sea of Galilee.
Tanti saluti dal lago di Tiberiade.